All right, so you keep seeing 12.1 everywhere you look. Huh, like it's following you around. Clocks, receipts, license plates, even those little digital displays.
It can be a little unnerving, right?
Totally.
Right.
And it's got you thinking, is the universe trying to get my attention with this 1212 thing? Especially anyone out there on their twin flame journey.
Right. Like this has got to be a sign,
Right?
right?
Yes. So that's what we're diving into today. Angel number 1212 and what it means for those on the path to finding their twin flame.
I think a lot of people tuning in have felt that little jolt when they see 1212 pop up again. Like, okay, someone's trying to tell me something.
Exactly. But so let's break it down. What's the significance of this number in the first place?
Well, if you look at numerology, every single digit has a different vibration, a different energy. And the number one, it's all about new
The
beginnings.
fresh starts, new chapters, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Taking charge of your life, using your own inner strength to create the reality you want to see.
Hmm.
It's very much about action, motivation.
Okay, so if you're seeing one a lot, maybe it's a push to get moving on something. Make a change.
Exactly. Now, the number two, that's kind of like the flip side. Think about harmony, balance, relationships.
So less about charging ahead and more about finding your center.
Yeah, more about tuning into your intuition, finding that sense of peace and equilibrium, especially in your connections with others.
Okay, so we've got one, which is all about action and new beginnings, and two, which is about harmony and relationships. And then smash those together, you get 1212. What's the message there?
That's where the magic really happens. Because you're not just supposed to go, go, go in life. You're supposed to find that sense of balance while you're doing it.
Oh, it's not about burning yourself out. It's about making progress in a way that feels good, that feels aligned.
Right. And I think that's a big part of why people connect 1212 with twin flames. Because that journey, it's not always smooth sailing. There's growth, there's challenges, but it's all part of this bigger movement towards one another.
It's like that winding path with twists and turns, but it's leading you somewhere important.
And the universe might be using 1212 to remind you to keep going. You're on the right track.
Okay, so we talked about 1212 as the sign of forward momentum, being on the right path. But let's be real, the twin flame journey, it's not always easy, right?
Definitely not. There are going to be bumps in the road.
Exactly. So how do we make sense of 1212 when those tough times show up, when it feels like maybe we're not on the right path after all?
Well, think of it this way. Those bumps, they're not there to throw you off track. They're more like detours.
Detours that maybe take you on a more scenic route?
Exactly. Because those challenges, as difficult as they can be in the moment, they're usually opportunities for growth.
For growth.
Yeah, both as individuals and as a couple.
Okay, so it's like 1212 is telling us to zoom out a little, remember there's a bigger picture,
Yeah.
even when it's hard to see.
Exactly. And to trust that even though things might feel chaotic on the surface,
Yeah.
there's still that underlying order, that connection.
So when you're in it, right in the thick of it, and you see 1212, what are you actually supposed to do with that?
It's a good question. For me, it's like a little reminder to breathe.
Hmm.
Come back
Yeah.
to that two energy we talked about. Harmony, balance. Because you're not alone in those moments. You've got your own inner strength and you've got the universe on your side too.
Right, it's like tapping into that cosmic support system.
Exactly.
But what about when the going gets really tough? Like we've talked about challenges, but what about separation from your twin flame?
Yeah.
That can feel like the ultimate test. How does 1212 fit into that picture?
Yeah, separation is a really common experience on the twin flame journey. And it can be so painful. But it's not always what it seems.
What do you mean?
It's easy to see it as a setback, right? Like, oh no, this isn't how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be together.
Right, like the universe messed up somehow.
But sometimes it's actually the opposite. It's more like, imagine a tree with two branches. They both grow in different directions, right?
Mm.
But they're still connected, still part of the same tree. And I think sometimes separation is like that. It's a time for individual growth, a time to really step into your own power so that when you do come back together, you're both coming from a place of wholeness.
So you're saying 1212 during separation is like a reassurance.
Exactly. It's like a little whisper from the universe saying, don't worry, you're both exactly where you need to be right now. Just focus on your own journey, your own growth, and trust that the reunion will happen when it's meant to.
So no more desperately trying to manifest your twin flame back into your life. It's more about surrendering to the process, focusing on yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But then what about when it feels like things are shifting? Like maybe that reunion is getting closer. Does 1212 have a different meaning then?
Oh, absolutely. Because when you're in that energy of, like, Anticipation, excitement, seeing 1212, it can be like a green light.
A green light.
Yeah, like a sign that you're on the right track, your energies are aligning, and things are moving in the right direction.
Oh, I bet that feels amazing. Like all those late night what if conversations with your best friend are about to come true.
Yeah, there's definitely a sense of that. But 1212 is a good reminder, even in those moments, to keep things in perspective,
How so?
because it's easy to get swept up in the fantasy of it all.
The fairy tale ending.
Right. But remember, a reunion, it's not about two halves magically becoming whole. It's about two whole individuals choosing to come back together with a deeper understanding of themselves and each other. And that takes work.
So even when you're on the verge of a reunion, seeing 1212 is like, okay, stay grounded, don't get ahead of yourself.
Exactly. It's about approaching that reunion with an open heart, a clear mind, and that willingness to embrace the journey wherever it may lead.
Wow. Okay, this is all so fascinating. But I think at this point, someone listening is probably thinking, okay, this is great and all, but what am I supposed to do when I see 1212?
That's a really good question. And honestly, I don't think it's always about doing something so much as shifting your perspective.
Shifting your perspective, what do you mean by that?
It's like, think of 1212 as a little nudge from the universe to become more aware of the signs, more aware of your intuition, because you're constantly being guided, whether you realize it or not.
So it's not a to-do list. It's more like a giant cosmic arrow pointing you in the right direction.
Exactly. It's about trusting that there's this bigger plan unfolding and you're exactly where you need to be within it.
And I guess that takes a certain amount of surrender, right? Like trusting that even if you don't have all the answers, the universe does.
Right. And that's a big part of what 1212 is trying to tell you, to trust the journey, even when it's messy, even when it's confusing, because you're not alone.
Okay, so we're tuning into those cosmic clues, trusting our intuition, finding that balance between taking action and surrendering to the process. What else can help someone navigate the twin flame journey with a little more grace, especially when those inevitable bumps in the road show up?
One of the most powerful things you can do is cultivate a positive mindset.
Which I'm sure is easier said than done, right? Because it's easy to say, oh yeah, just think positive thoughts when everything's going your way. But when you're in the middle of a twin flame separation or you're feeling lost and alone, positivity can feel impossible.
Oh, absolutely. And that's actually another place where the energy of 1212 can be really helpful.
So how does 1212 actually help us stay positive when things get tough, especially in the twin flame realm?
Well, remember how we were talking about 1212 being about new beginnings, right?
Yeah.
And finding balance.
Yeah, having that balance.
It's not just about the external stuff. It's about your thoughts, too. Like, you actually have a lot more control than you might realize when it comes to what you choose to focus on.
Okay, but that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I get what you're saying, but say you're in the middle of a separation and it just hurts. You miss them. How can you just decide to be positive in that moment?
You bring up a good point. And it's not about ignoring the negative or pretending those difficult emotions aren't there. It's more about choosing where you focus your energy.
Okay, I think I get that. But any practical advice? Because I know people listening are like, okay, how do I actually do that?
Yeah, for sure. One thing that's really helpful is using affirmations.
Affirmations, like those positive statements.
Exactly. Because it sounds kind of simple, but when you repeat those phrases, I am worthy of love, my twin flame and I are destined to be together, those kinds of things, it actually start to shift something within you.
So you're basically training your brain to believe it.
In a way, yeah. It's like you're planting these seeds of positivity, and then over time, they start to take root.
I like that. Planting seeds. So it's not just like a quick fix. It's something you got to cultivate.
Right. And along with affirmations, connecting with yourself more through meditation, journaling, spending time in nature, things like that.
So important. Because it can be so easy to get caught up in the noise of everyday life, the what ifs, the doubts.
Right. And that inner work, it helps quiet all that down. So you can hear your own inner wisdom, your intuition more clearly.
Which is where all the good stuff is.
Exactly.
Wow, okay. So we're tuning into those cosmic signs, taking charge of our own growth, cultivating a more positive mindset, really going inward. This is amazing.
It's a journey, for sure. But that's something else 1212 reminds you of.
Mm-hmm.
You're not alone in any of it. You've got this whole universe supporting you, guiding you. All you have to do is be open to it.
Be open to the journey, be open to the love, be open to those little cosmic nudges from the universe like 1212. This has been incredible. Thank you so much for sharing all this wisdom.
Oh, my pleasure. Always happy to chat about all things twin flame.
And for everyone listening, the next time you see 1212 on a clock, on a license plate, wherever it is, remember what we talked about today. You've got this. Trust the journey. Keep your heart open, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.